Good evening, everybody, and welcome to The Better View. We appreciate you sticking with us. I know that you're going to have a great time tonight. We have some awesome topics for you. And, of course, I've got the hottest panel in new media. First up, joining me as usual on Thursday nights, or as I like to say, Thursday nights, from Arizona, Rihanna Dilley. Rihanna, I feel like a game show host. It's Rihanna, first of all. I feel like a game show host. I'm calling you out to, spin the big wheel. How are you?
I'm doing great. 'Tis the season, Tracy. It's the most wonderful time of year.
You look very festive today.
I love the holidays. It's my absolute favorite. And it's chilly here in Arizona, which it almost never is. So I'm definitely going to take advantage of it.
Chilly means what, like 70?
No, actually, last night it got down into the high 30s at night, which is very chilly for us. Yeah. So we'll get that at night sometimes. And up in the mountains, you'll get snow here. Where I'm at, we don't get snow, but it does get into, like I think today was like a brisk 60, which for us is sweater weather.
You need Mr. Heatmeister. Yes, you do.
What is that?
Oh, it's an old cartoon. Shut up. You're showing your age. Showing your youth and beauty. I'll have none of that youth and beauty on the show. Thank you very much.
Just edit that ignorance out.
Right now, everybody just cursed you. Everybody that's of our age collectively just went, what? Oh my
gosh. What age are you talking about, Diva? What
our 40s are the new.
Like a fine wine.
Yeah, they're the new 20s.
But you guys are forever young and super gorgeous.
You've just redeemed yourself.
That's why we keep her around.
That's right. You're back in our good graces now. I am so happy that Ann Vandersteel, the one and only #Steel Truth Maven, could join us tonight. So, Ann, how are you is it chilly in Florida?
Okay, so baby, it is cold outside. I woke up this morning and my dogs were like, what the hell, Mom? They were jumping in bed. I mean, these are outdoor dogs that were like, hello. They were used to sweating, and this is freezing. We had the windows open, and it was cold. It was, when I got to the gym this morning, it dropped to a brisk 61. And so I am wearing, in honor of 61, it says, hello, Mr. Claus on my shirt. I am ready for Santa, baby. Bring it on.
Everybody in the Northeast and in the Midwest right now hates both of you. Because we're supposed to get a little bit of snow here tonight in New York, supposedly. So we might get some flurries tonight because it's a balmy 27 degrees right now. So, yeah, it's been really chilly the last few days. Winter really has kicked in, but I digress. So it looks like we're all in kind of like the Christmassy mood right now.
We are.
Yeah, I feel like we're all in the Christmas spirit. So it's a good time to talk about the song, Baby, It's Cold Outside, which the song from 1944 has stirred up significant controversy in the last couple of weeks because the Me Too movement is putting pressure on radio stations not to play it because they feel like it promotes date rape culture. Rihanna, your thoughts? First of all, do you know the song, being that you're so young?
I do. I know that song, and I love that song. I love all the Christmas classics. So I do. Regardless of my age, I do know that one. But yeah, it's sad about that.
You what?
I was sad about that because it was, unfortunately, this movement to get it removed has been effective. Last year, that song was playing in the circuit on the radio over and over and over again. I heard it all year long, as I do every year, along with some of our other favorite classics, because a lot of people hate Christmas music. I love it. I listen to it from like November 1st to January 5th. I'm that guy. So when this song is missing from my rotation now, they took it off the radio, and I was really sad about it because I feel like it's really misguided. I mean, we're putting today's standards and kind of really skewing and misinterpreting what the song was, especially considering the way life was when it was written. I mean, nobody spiked her drink. That's not what the song is intending. It's much more about the social norms of the day where she's inside with this guy that she loves, and it's warm and cozy in the fireplace, and he doesn't want her to leave, and he's just being all flirtatious. And she's trying to get out the door, and then kind of having that internal struggle, like, oh, I want to stay, but I want to go. What will the neighbors think? And it's just kind of this cute, sweet winter song. And it just got really kind of perverted. And it says more about our culture today than about the song itself.
Considering a lot of the music that the kids listen to nowadays and are complaining about this, I mean, a lot of the songs are just absolutely disgusting and filthy and about sex and murder and drugs and parties and drugs and sex and parties like that. I mean, that's all you hear on the radio, and that's normal. But this sweet song that was written in 1944, where this girl is kind of just, wrestling with her gender role stereotype of the day, and the guy is just being a little bit of a wolf, like, come on, you want to stay, it's cold, it's snowing, nobody's going to say anything, and he's just being a macho guy. So, Anne, what did you think about this?
Well, I think it's just typical of the left to, be small, petulant little crybaby children and hypocritical all at the same time. I mean, we've talked about this over and over again. The Me Too movement is born out of the fact they have nothing else. They don't have any policies or anything they can stand on, so they constantly are pointing the finger to their people. I mean, this is it's kind of boring almost, and it's sad that, like Rihanna, I'm like Rihanna, I love Christmas music. As soon as December 1st hits and the radio stations start playing it, my Alexa is playing Christmas music right now. To my family's chagrin, I have it playing constantly. So I absolutely love it. And to know that Alexa, at least I can ask for the song and she'll play it. But to know that I can't get in my car because somebody's complaining about some song they've now perverted into something else. Meanwhile, like you just said, my kids can turn on any video game, Gone in 60 Seconds or whatever, and see a lot of TNA. Mind you, it's computer generated TNA, but frankly, it's very, very pornographic at this point. For 14-year-olds to be able to access that stuff, whether they're at my house or somebody else's house, and they can download it or whatever, and it's just really like ridiculous that this is what they're going to go after. Why not look at the industry that's creating this ridiculous fake Me Too movement while they're purveying the stuff that the Me Too movement is complaining about? It's just total hypocrisy, and it's once again, conservatives are just going to go, oh, well, I guess we're just not going to get our song. No, hell no. I'm going to complain. I want my freaking Baby It's Cold Outside, because I love that song. And that, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the Veggie Tales they're complaining about. Who can turn a biblical cartoon about Veggie Tales into some kind of perversion? Only the left could. They're that deranged and they're that obsessed with sex that everything they look at is now a sexual perversion. And since they're so perverted themselves, they're going to project it and say, you guys are the ones that are perverted. And what about me too? It's just ridiculous. The whole thing is nuts.
Yeah, I also love Christmas music. I'm also that person, but there's only one Christmas song that I really can't stand, and it's simply having a wonderful Christmas time with the synthesizer, bing, 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 bing. Yeah, I can't because I worked at the Gap when I was 18, 19
Oh my God. So you had to hear it over and over and over.
Every third song was that song, and I just, I have to turn the station on. But I love where we're going with this too, because Anne, you brought up Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which was also under attack this week. It's just an attack on Christmas because they say that Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer glorifies bullying and bigotry and all sorts of stereotypes when it was made in the 1960s. It was this great claymation cartoon, and if anything, Rudolph was bullied and he didn't feel sorry for himself. He jumped right in there and came back and won everybody over. I mean, it looks like he triumphed over bullying to me. So Rihanna, are you surprised that Rudolph is under attack?
I mean, I shouldn't be, but it seems like every week we do the show and every week we're talking about something completely absurd in the culture war. And I mean, that's really all that this points back to is it is absolutely a culture war. It's a war on American culture, and they're going back to our traditions and our historical values and our favorite things and trying to remove them one by one, little by little, and eroding it. And so attacking our classical Christmas music and our classical Christmas shows it's just right on par. It shouldn't be surprising. Yeah. It's very disappointing. But I mean, and it honestly, it frankly doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. There's really no argument for it, but they march to their beat of that drum no matter what. They just take those orders and follow it like sheep, like, oh yes, this is offensive. I mean, like you just said, Rudolph it doesn't glorify bullying. It actually, when I watched it as a kid, it's like you feel sad for him that he's getting
Yes, you
bullied.
empathize.
And then, yeah, and he's like this odd outcast, but then the thing that makes him an odd outcast ends up being his crowning glory.
Exactly.
And
Right.
he overcomes the bullying. So really, it should be like a liberal's dream of a movie, because it's like this special, unique, snowflakey little Rudolph who's very different and who overcomes all the bullies and gets to really shine. I mean, that's a great message. And so it seems like something that would get behind. So it's really counterintuitive that they're attacking it.
Yeah, and Clarissa loves him in spite of his flaws. She actually loves him better because of his flaw, before he even saves the day with his shiny red nose. So, Anne, I know that you're a parent. I know that Rihanna's a parent. So this also rolls into Christmas. There was a substitute teacher in a very nice school, in an elementary school in New Jersey. She was watching and teaching a first grade class full of 6-year-olds. And she asked the class, well, class, what holiday is coming up? And the kids were all excited. Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. We know how 6-year-olds are. And unfortunately, the substitute teacher was quite the Grinch, because she told them that Santa Claus was their parents and he wasn't real. The elf on the shelf was just a doll that their parents moved to trick them into behaving. And she didn't even stop there, because she went and she told them the Easter bunny wasn't real. She told them the tooth fairy was their parents. I mean, this woman, only a liberal could suck the joy and fun out of a 6-year-old's Christmas. And what would you do if your child was in that classroom?
Well, first of all, I'd go in and I would look under the desk to see if she left her pitchfork there, because clearly the woman must have cooked in. I mean, seriously, first of all, what teacher takes the initiative to just start parenting the children in a way that has nothing to do with educating about 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic? That's what you're there for. You're not there to give education on morals of this or that, or you're not there to spoil Christmas for a 6-year-old. It's not like this is a high school class. These are still little baby children that have fantasies and are, enjoying the whole idea of Christmas and the spirit of Christmas over and above the story of Jesus Christ. This is the story this is what brings them joy at this time. So why do you want to be a killjoy? That's what I would want to know from this teacher. And then I'd also want to know who in God's name, defined her as the parent. I mean, did we switch roles? Are you now the parent? Are you going to come home? Are you going to pay for my child's education? Are you going to make sure that there's food on the table? What is your role here? No, the role is to present the material that the state has mandated you have to teach my child, and they go to school in New Jersey. And I know New Jersey public schools are very, very good, because I went to New Jersey public schools for a long time, and Montclair, New Jersey is a very wealthy community. So you're not going to tell me those kids wanted for anything. So that teacher was just so out of bounds on so many levels. And that's really what I want to know. Where the heck does she think she gets off ruining and sabotaging the environment that I create for my child at that particular time? So it's just sad. It's very sad.
It is. That's the only time that you have that innocence and you really get that Christmas magic. We all can remember when we were little girls and you couldn't sleep because you were excited Santa was coming, and you would hear like little knocks and little noises, and you would think, oh my gosh, Santa's here, I better pretend I'm sleeping, I can't let him see me, I won't get any presents. And then you got up so excited at like 5 a.m. and you ran to get all your presents, and she just totally robbed them of that.
Don't you think the kids are like, Mom and Dad, what the heck was I doing up baking cookies for Santa last night and leaving little, reindeer dust and all this stuff? I mean, so the kids are so confused by this because they've, had all these little traditions that have just been ruined. I mean, we're talking, how many kids of this woman's lives has she ruined because the traditions have just been thrown out the window, and she's telling him that the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus is all fake. I mean, that's like serious, that's damaging to a child. That's not her place to do that. And that's the parent's role to guide them into growing up and realizing that was just fun and pretend we did when they were little. But here's the reality. I mean, that was like, she just threw everything out the window. It's just a very, from a child psychologist perspective, very damaging, I would think.
Yeah, she has no business being around children ever. And I know, Rihanna, you have very young children that still do believe in Santa Claus. What would you do in that situation? How do you resolve that with your children?
I mean, our two little ones are 6 and 7, the two little boys. And so they are right at that age where it's the most magical time of year. And I don't even want to go on record talking about what I would do if this were my kids.
Oh, I hear you.
I'm not even going to go there.
I would help.
I mean, it's like, what is going on? We were just talking about this attack on our culture. Did they get the phone call and get the MK Ultra activation, like destroy Christmas and tradition and culture in any way you can? And, I mean, it's unthinkable for a teacher to take that on and think that it would be acceptable and that there wouldn't be major blowback. Because like Anne said, it's your job to educate state mandated education. It's not your job to determine how a child is raised or their values or their traditions or any of that. It's not your place to have that conversation. I know that I have a plan in place to have that conversation with my boys and how it's going to go so that they're not heartbroken and crying and damaged and like, oh my God, is my whole life's been a lie, right? So I have a plan for that, how that conversation is going to go when they're ready, and only they're going to know when they're ready, you know? And it's like you said, Tracy, it's just a small little window of time that we have for this very, very precious moment in time. And it's all I've got. I've got maybe a year or two left of this before it changes and Christmas and changes completely. Mm-hmm. And if somebody took it upon themselves to take that away from me and my family and my kids, I would raise all hell.
Yeah, it makes Christmas fun for you too, because I remember I stopped believing at about 9. I figured it out, but I pretended to believe for 2 more years because my parents, it gave them joy, and I was their last child because I could see the joy it gave them by me pretending that, oh, I still believe in Santa Claus for another couple of years, even though I really didn't. So, you know, it's taking the joy away from the parent too. Like this one has no business being around children. I sincerely hope that she's never around children ever again. So
she should be fired.
Yeah, I actually heard somebody defend her and say, but she's telling these kids the truth. So how could you really fire her over that?
It's not her responsibility to make that judgment, period.
Exactly. That's what I said. It has no place in the school at all.
It doesn't. It's not in the textbooks. Where in the textbooks does it say Santa Claus isn't real? Where do you even study about the Easter Bunny or Tooth Fairy or Santa? We don't study that stuff in school, so it's not in the curriculum. She shouldn't even be talking about it. Period. End of story.
Yeah, we have enough
because
problems.
Where do you draw the line? I mean, does she attack Hanukkah next and go after personal religion?
They're attacking our genders. I mean, they can call, you know, you can be like Brendan Dilley always says, a gay toaster. I mean, this is ridiculous. I can come in and, you know, this is how it's gotten so warped. So the lines are so blurred. And this is, you know, if we're going to have public education, who's going to draw the lines here? We have to stand up for what the law says, which is teach what's in the books and leave everything else off the table.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't say it enough. I am so grateful to live in a small town that does share those conservative values, because I know there are so many places in our country that are no longer like that. We're losing that in a lot of places. My school still offers Santa pictures of Santa for $5. And my son's face in those pictures is so precious. He just, you know, so excited because he's getting pictures with the real Santa. And, you know, that's a stark contrast to teachers saying none of it's real, you know?
I love it. I, as a teacher, I decorate my classroom to the hilt for the holidays and Christmas, and I have my Christmas tree and all my stuffed animals, and I have everything. But just so the liberals don't get upset, I do put a couple snowflakes up there to represent you. So now, I know it was a little bit of a somber week because this was the week that we did say goodbye to the nation's 41st president, who was George H.W. Bush. And I could go on all day about his policies because I was not a fan of his policies. So, you know, conspiracy theories aside, it was a very moving ceremony, especially when George W. Bush eulogized his father. But the fake news, in fake news fashion, used the death and the service to bash President Trump at every opportunity. So, Anne, did you get to watch any of this and see how the lamestream media was treating the ceremony?
Yeah, they really held, you know, the lamestream media, first of all, couldn't stand the 41st president when he was president. They
exactly
attacked him at the hypocrisy of the whole thing. And maybe, you know what, and I'm gonna throw them a bone here, girls. I'm gonna say maybe the broadcasters, although it's actually really not even worth saying because most of the broadcasters have been around long enough to know George Herbert Walker Bush when he was president. But some of the younger ones maybe didn't, so maybe they thought this was really nostalgic and a beautiful tribute. But for those broadcasters, and they know who they are, that were putting him up on a pedestal and revering him and talking about how great he is and trying to denigrate President Trump in comparison, are just beyond hypocritical, and they know it. And it's disgusting. Now, I do believe you have to absolutely honor the office of the presidency. I even respect the fact that Barack Obama was president, disagreed with every one of his policies, was disappointed he was reelected, but I honor the fact he was our president and we survived it. Amen. Same
we should get the t-shirt.
Exactly. We got the t-shirt. And the same with the 41st president and the 43rd president. They had policies that I disagreed with. And as a Republican, it was very conflicting. But you know, the man is gone. Let's try and find the good things that he did, whatever they might be. And we don't want to make this too political here and enumerate them all, but let's just say, let's respect that and be done with it. But the fact that mainstream media was gushing over him was so disingenuous to me. I actually turned the volume off and just had it playing in the background. I would watch the hearse and this and that, but I didn't want to hear the commentary because it was fake news. It was total fake news, and they know it's fake news, and they're only doing it to just do this to our president, which is not helping this country unite. It's not helping this country understand all the great stuff this president's accomplished, and it's just not helping the country heal. So I think it's time that, we've got to recognize that, put it out there as often as we can. And also, I'm going to have to go back to Brendan today, Rihanna. He put it out there, and it's true. Shows like this are getting more views than a lot of mainstream media out there, especially in the radio world and so forth. The smaller markets, we're getting bigger views than they are because we're bringing real news, and people are sick and tired of the sugar-coated fake stuff. They want to know what's really going on, what people are really thinking, and they're hearing it from people who aren't getting paid zillions of dollars to get out there and do it. We're doing this for free practically. We're barely, we're eking out a living, some of us not at all. So because we are passionate about the truth, and that's the difference. So
absolutely.
Away from it.
And that's why it comes out in the work, was you're right. Most people in the media aren't getting paid for it. They're lucky if they get somebody that donates to a Patreon or sponsors their show, and that's very far and few between. After all the reminiscing this week that the news media has done, and all the gushing, just like they gushed over No Name, who they also hated. I mean, back in October of 1992, when it was Bush 41 versus Bill Clinton at that time, I had just turned 18, so you can figure out my age pretty easily now. But I remember not liking Bush 41 because the economy was terrible and all these things I was told in the news. And back then, we didn't know what fake news was. We believed the news. It was Trump that really brought it home that the news is fake. I just remember them lying about the economy because the economy was actually a lot better, and I see that now in retrospect as an older adult. I voted for Ross Perot in that election. So, I was an idealistic kid. I liked Ross Perot. He was a billionaire businessman. He was quirky. He had big ears, and he brought out charts that made me understand the economy and what he could do with it. And in retrospect, he was also prophetic because a lot of things he said came true. But what scares me is, now, Ross Perot was a Republican, if you recall, challenged Bush 41 in the primary. They threw him out of the Republican Party. He runs as an independent, and he gets a very impressive amount, 19%, because people didn't like Bush, people didn't like Clinton, so they went for Ross Perot. And he, out of any third-party candidate, received the most votes out of any in any election. 19% is a lot. So my fear is this. The deep state, because now I'm thinking of 2020, the deep state hates Donald Trump so much. What if they put up another Republican to run against him third party as an independent? One of the rhinos, the never Trumpers. What if it's a Mitt Romney or a John Kasich or something like that? Because I don't put that past the deep state, and I just have this sinking feeling in my gut that they may pull that as like their plan D because the Russia collusion delusion isn't working out. We'll get to that. So, Rihanna, do you put that past the deep state? Am I just getting paranoid here, or do you think that's a possibility for 2020?
Oh, I wouldn't put it past him at all. It's definitely a possibility. I'm not concerned about it, though. I feel like if that's in the works, I mean, we all know that Trump, as we say, plays 4D chess. He's a few steps ahead of everybody, and I'm sure there's a plan for that in play. And I mean, aside from that, there's a lot of other factors that go into it. For one, he's successfully discredited the media. He's allowed them to show their true colors and allowed them to discredit themselves with the public so that we literally despise them and do not trust them and get our news elsewhere. And they're, like Ann said, their ratings are so low that we in new media are getting more views than they are. So they don't control the narrative anymore. They are losing that power. And that is the most important power to have when it comes to politics, is the narrative. So without that, you're kind of dead in the water, no matter how creative you get. And aside from that, this is arguably the most popular president in our nation's history. Arguably, I mean, one of, if not the most popular. And I think history is going to remember that as well. He's not getting the love he deserves right now from the media, obviously, but we, the people, voted for him for a reason, and we've stood by him ferociously loyally for a reason. So he has a very loyal base. And we saw the evidence of that in the midterms, regardless of all the fraud. So I'm not concerned about a third party dividing the vote for 2020. I think it's a Trump win all the way. I think there's a lot of really interesting things that are going to happen before then as well, that are going to influence the election.
Yeah, I get this nagging feeling the deep state is going to pull out a lot of tricks, and I'm worried about a lot of things, especially voter fraud, because it's the only way that they could win. I mean, with Trump's 94% negative news coverage, he's still got very high approval ratings, higher than Obama at the same time in their presidency. Right. To compare them,
that says a lot. And, really the other thing that's interesting watching that funeral was, you know, after No Name passed and now H.W. Bush passing, Brendan kind of touched on this earlier too in his show, was that it's the passing of an era. You're at the end of a timeline and you're watching it kind of mourning itself. We, the people, are not mourning it. We're looking towards the future, which our current president represents. And the media is, you know, fawning and crying and grieving over this end of the era and vilifying the new era that Trump represents, that he is ushering in, which is why you have this diametrically opposed clash amongst the people, that great divide, because he represents the change that we want, that new era. So, I mean, I was seeing all these article headlines like, oh, George H.W. Bush funeral and Trump is, of course, the outlier. I mean, they were literally in the headlines calling him an outlier, even though he showed up at the funeral with his wife, was very classy and very, you know, behaved exactly as a president should at a funeral for a former president.
Yeah, and they're saying, oh, but he's forced to do the state funeral this way. If it was left to him, it would just be a circus. But, you know, I love the dynamic of seeing all the past and future, or past and future, rather, I take that back. The past presidents and our future, I guess immediate future, 2020, Donald Trump, sitting in the first row. But when Trump and Melania get to that first row and they're greeting the Obamas, very classy. Hillary Clinton, holy cow.
Oh my God. The shade.
I mean, number one, can I just say I'm surprised she didn't like combust into flame when she walked into the church.
Yeah.
But I mean, Anne, did you see that? Trump lives rent free in her head. Like,
oh my gosh, he walks in and sits down and he shakes Obama's hand. He shakes Michael's hand, or Michael, whatever. Melania, same thing. And Bill Clinton is sitting next to Michael Obama, and he looks over to try and, you know, maybe see if he's going to get eye contact. Are they going to lean in for the shake or whatever? President Trump didn't even look his way, sat down, just sat straight forward. He and Melania were poised. They were solemn. They were paying the respect that you should at a funeral, for anybody for that matter. And they were there representing our country perfectly. I kept watching Bill Clinton. He must have glanced over once or twice and then just sat there with that stupid look on his face. Meanwhile, Hillary just had this look of just like, oh my God, somebody pour me another vodka now. And then she decided that was probably becoming too obvious. So she pulled up the funeral program and just sat there like this. So you couldn't hardly see your face, but fortunately the camera angle was coming from up in the corner. I'm going to myself, if that woman could smell her breath, maybe that's when she decided to put it down, because the breath rebound from her, 2-martini hangover before she got to the funeral was so bad. Hilarious.
I have to say, like, if you notice that clip where the Trumps come in, Bill was visually enjoying Melania yet again.
Yeah.
He was like enjoying the video. He must think, wow, I'm the same age as Trump and I get to wake up with this one.
Yeah.
But, in crooked Hillary's defense, she's probably not used to being out of her coffin that early. So, maybe it was just a little too much for her. But that was one of my favorite parts of the service, was watching that dynamic. It was poetry. My favorite moment, though, was Bob Dole.
Oh, that was sweet.
Because, wow, Bob Dole is another person. I actually worked on his campaign, and this was back in 1996. He was against Bill Clinton. I loved Bob Dole. Bob Dole and George H.W. Bush hated each other. They did. Even they were rivals their whole political career. But Bob Dole, who was wounded in World War II, needs a wheelchair, can't stand, was determined to stand and salute. Like, he used all of his strength and all of his might and all of his will to get up with the assistance of his aide. That photo of him saluting the casket should be picture of the year. No doubt picture of the year. So anything else, ladies, you want to say about the services before we move topics?
Politics is the new reality TV. I feel like a lot more people tuned into this funeral than watched any Tonys or Emmys or any of those awards. And nobody cares about those anymore. Everybody's tuning in and talking and covering events like these politically. So that's pretty interesting.
Truth is stranger than fiction, right? I mean, the truth of what's going on right now in our country, around the world, and the deep state that's going to be exposed here and is in the process of being exposed is just so bizarre that, when I interviewed Corey Lewandowski the other day, and I said to him, your book reads like a manuscript for a movie that was it was meant to be a fiction novel, a fiction movie. And, we agree, truth is stranger than fiction. You can't make this stuff up. I don't think any author could have ever come up with the plots and subplots of what's gone down in the last 2 administrations. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
It really is. If you were to ship this movie script to Hollywood, they would tell you it's unrealistic, that you would need to rewrite it, because it was so unbelievable. I can't wait to see the film version of it.
When we get the film version, I just want somebody to zoom in at the funeral part when Hillary's feet are like steaming and she's wearing foil shoes, like just she's too close to hell and she can't sit in a church that long. She's sweating. But I want that close up.
Man, maybe she was in a bad mood because she knows she might be heading to Club Fed. I don't know. It is a possibility. There are.
Corey Lewandowski said it. I'm going to go with Corey. He still flies on Air Force One with the president from time to time. He said that, make no bones about it, but that, Andrew McCabe was definitely going to get perp walked, and that Comey was in big trouble, and so were Strzok and Page, and he even said Rosenstein and Hillary. So, he said those names from his lips to, I don't know, maybe the court marshal's ears. I have no idea.
Well, and we know what Whitaker had to say about the Clinton Foundation, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The next year is going to be fascinating. I can't wait. Buckle up, because it's going to ramp up especially with the new Congress coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about Flynn, since we're almost there. We're veering into a nice transition. So Mueller releases this memo. Basically, it's a sentencing memorandum. And in this memo, it looks to me like Flynn's forthrightness just shines throughout, because there's no there. This isn't, the Cliff Notes version is Mueller is trying to press Flynn to go against Trump. There's nothing there. He won't do it. So he bankrupts this man and almost ruins this man's life. The end. He says, okay, there's nothing. Please give him a lenient sentence. And even though he pled guilty to lying, he didn't really lie. You kind of almost have to plead guilty to this minor process crime so that it stops, and so that you're not bleeding money, because we know that Michael Flynn had to put his house up on the market, et cetera, et cetera. So, and a lot of people in the opposition media interpreted this memo to mean that he had flipped on Trump. And we know that's utterly ridiculous. So tell us what you know.
So here's what we do know, and everybody knows this. General Flynn served under President Obama for a lot longer than he served for President Trump. I mean, we're talking years versus a month and a half. So it's not even comparable about what he could have frankly learned about President Trump. He was also, along with Admiral Michael Rogers, who went and told the Trump campaign that they were being spied upon by the Obama and Clinton cabal, essentially. The other thing too that, is some fact that I've been talking about for quite some time is when he was interviewed by the FBI, by Peter Strzok and another agent, that other agent turned out to be Joe Plienta, who, as you know, both agents, when they go in there, they take copious notes, and those notes are chronicled in what's called a 302. That's FBI speak for where they take their notes from the meeting. And Andy Page's 302 had two versions of it. And the one that they were using was one that was impugning General Flynn into this process crime. The one agent they never spoke about, and then I started raising a red flag as soon as I got his name several months ago, was Joe Plienta. Said, I want to see his 302. And lo and behold, Chuck Grassley has now requested to see Joe Plienta's 302 and get all of his documentation. What do you think those 302s are going to say? They're going to be black and white. They're going to be complete opposites of what that meeting represented. And that's going to be what exonerates General Flynn. And I believe that's what's going to be the final nail in the coffin for Peter Strzok. What did I say? Andy Strzok? Peter Strzok.
They all meld together after a while. Like
Peter Strzok and Joe Plienta were the two agents from the FBI that went and interviewed Flynn, and they have different 302s, and that's what's going to come out, and that's what's going to save and exonerate General Flynn. And Peter Strzok's going to burn for that because he lied. It's another fabrication.
And the two of them going to interview him, the first interview anyway, where they did the gotcha question where he messed up the date, not for nothing. I talked to so many people during the day that if you asked me, if the FBI came to my house and asked me who I talked to yesterday, I could easily mix that up. I mean, that's just simple.
I just did it. I just mismatched Andy McCabe's and Peter Strzok's names because we're just talking constantly about them. But I know
if you were both Ann, you'd have a problem right now.
I know. I'm guilty. My God, the FBI is going to come to my house and arrest me.
Yeah. I mean, they call over to the White House and they say to Flynn, hey, we're going to come over. We have a couple things to talk to you about. And he's like, oh, okay. They don't tell him to get a lawyer or anything. And then it's like a gotcha, unconstitutional interview. I mean, the whole investigation is unconstitutional. Oh my goodness, I'm so sick of being a spineless Republican. Everything needs to be thrown out. It just, they're looking for Russian collusion, but they're not anymore because there isn't any. So now they're just taking a piece of Jerome Corsi and a piece of Roger Stone, and they're really going off the rails with this investigation, and it's driving me crazy. If they want to look for Russian collusion and a president, what about President Obama? Because remember, when Russia invaded and annexed Crimea, Obama didn't do anything. And then when Obama told the Russians on the hot mic that he would need more flexibility, that he would get more flexibility after winning the election, that didn't, that wasn't collusion. And when he sold out our uranium to Russia, that wasn't collusion. I mean, give me a break. If anything, the only president that's guilty of Russian collusion, which isn't technically a crime in the eyes of the law, is Barack Obama. So, I mean, this whole investigation, it bothers me. I want General Flynn to be pardoned, exonerated. I mean, man, I wish I could go to D.C. I know they're doing a support rally for General Flynn on December 18th. Unfortunately, I have work commitments. I can't do it. But, boy, if you can get down there to the courthouse and show General Flynn your support, the Flynn family, they're a bunch of loves. And I know that they would greatly appreciate that show. So, Rihanna, I know you did the beautiful portrait of General Flynn. What do you have to say about all of this and the Mueller memo that came out?
Thanks, Tracy. That painting, I actually did prints of it, canvas prints, and they turned out really, really cool. But as you know, we're big supporters of the Flynn family. Love all of them. Follow them all on Twitter. Donated to the General Flynn Defense Fund. We just love him. He's a patriot. We love his family. We really feel for what they've really unnecessarily gone through, and the way they've handled it is just complete class. and total dedication to their country and to serving the country and the people. And that's really rare nowadays, I think. So we love them. I was pretty excited and interested, honestly, when it all came out, because as you know, we read it completely different than liberals, that they were losing their minds like, oh, Flynn must have turned on Trump. And we have it on extremely good authority. And I can't tell you how good the authority is, that is absolutely not what happened. Flynn has always and still does love Trump and never turned on him. And as we know, when we read it, it's heavily, heavily redacted. And the parts that are redacted have nothing to do with Russian collusion, because that investigation is not going on anymore. And last week, President Trump told us that it was just about wrapping up. So that's kind of perfect timing there. So what is redacted? Because I really don't think, if we're going to follow the bouncing ball here, that it has anything to do with Russia. So then you start wondering, okay, what is going on here? Which really brings you back more to the TikTok, I just flatlined.
That's okay. I flatlined like 6
It's the end of the day. I should have drank some more coffee.
That's good.
I got super excited that I just died.
Flatline too. Thank God, Tracy. We're not the only ones who flatline.
No, and you were building up and building up and building up, and I was like, oh.
I know. Oh my God.
That's why new media is so charming, because you never see this on,
Well, you know why? Because we don't have our cue cards in front of us, and the producer telling us that
I'm not reading off a teleprompter over here. My mind is just going 1,000 miles an hour. And as a woman, I think of 20 different things at once. So while I'm over here talking about politics and the Flynn family, and then I'm thinking about painting, and then I'm thinking about this one painting I was working on earlier that's drying. And so I got really distracted. And I'm like, oh yeah, and then I've got to, okay.
A woman's brain, just for those of you that don't know, is like a computer with like 20 browser tabs left open.
That's exactly right. Oh my God, that's so good.
And if you leave them open for too long, because you're like, wait, I'm going to go back to this one and this one and this one and this one.
And then you crash. And then your hard drive crashes. Yeah, browser tabs.
Right.
That's what happened.
Yeah, as a quick aside, I have to tell everybody, because everyone knows, if you ever watched me when I first started on Your Voice America, I was absolutely terrible, because I was on shows and I did mostly radio, but I would be arguing with liberals, which was my sweet spot. So I never messed up words. I was, all on adrenaline, hopped up, and I was just like the liberal slayer. Then I get on a show where everybody's agreeing, and I'm like, well, yeah, I agree too. Like, what do I say? It was an art form, and new media is an art form, because we don't have cue cards, we don't have teleprompters, we don't have anybody in our ear like saving us to tell us what to say. So you have to be an expert literally on everything.
Everything.
You have to know economy, foreign policy, the Russian collusion, delusion, nonsense. I mean, you really have to be an expert on everything, and it's really, really hard. So
yep.
You're allowed to crash and burn.
Thank you for saying it, Tracy. Thank you for saying it. It's so true. It's stressful. It's stressful.
It does take a lot of time to research and check your sources and make sure that you've got correct information, and it's constantly moving and changing. So you might read something and then it's different 2 hours later. Really interesting, really fun and exciting. Yes. Oh, absolutely. You got to use your gut.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. In the last few minutes we have, can we please talk about the saga that is the Kellyanne Conway movie?
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Because
fire.
Holy cow. Like, Eric Trump even got upset because her husband, George Conway, is just a jerky jerkerson, and he's tweeting out all of this anti-Trump propaganda constantly. It's not the first time that he's done it. He's been doing it for a while. And what is going on there in that marriage?
Honestly, I don't know what's going on in that marriage. If I'm her, listen, we know a lot of people.
What would you do if your husband did that to you?
If I'm her, if that was my husband, I would divorce him. I'd be like, you know what? Either she doesn't like the president and she's getting a paycheck. But I mean, how many slings and arrows can you take? And really, are you getting paid that much money that it's really that worth it? I don't think so. So I think that there's literally a fundamental difference between he and her. And I think maybe she just needs to say, buddy, we're done, because this is my job. This is my passion. I've taken a lot to get where I'm at. And it's important to me. And he just is disrespecting her by disrespecting the president. Now, if it's in fact, it comes out that she can't stand the president, then wow, that's just horrible that she's been in there. She's done a very good job representing and fighting for him and going toe to toe with the media. So either she's a really good paid shill or she's married to a complete and utter jerk. But I would literally try to figure out how to take my husband's Twitter account, talk about taking it away from somebody, tell him to shut it down, or she needs to stand up and walk out. Fortunately, Eric Trump, like you said, he stood up for her and just called this guy out as a buffoon, because he's really a buffoon. That's exactly what this guy is. And I just can't imagine what that's like to go home to that house, and this guy, what is he, just Mr. Kellyanne Conway? He's so jealous of her that he's got to stay home and take care of the kids. I mean, what's the deal here? So if he doesn't like the fact that she's representing the president, then maybe he needs to reassess what he's doing in that marriage, because she doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And she serves at the pleasure of the president. So I'm just wondering if maybe after the first of the year, there isn't a changing of the guard where the president kind of gives her the out, like, Kellyanne, this is clearly something that's going to be a problem in your marriage. I got to believe he's asked her about it at this point, because he seems like a very compassionate guy. Why wouldn't he want to say, are you in this or do you need a break? And I got to believe she's still sticking it out. So maybe there'll be papers. Boy, that'll be an interesting divorce. That'll be
oh my gosh. Well, that's what I thought. I thought maybe they are getting divorced, and he wants to make this name for himself because he's going to come out with this tell-all book that just smears President Trump and tells the real story about Kellyanne hated him and all this, all that salacious garbage that the liberals eat up. That's what I kind of thought. And then I was thinking about it. What if Kellyanne was a leaker in the White House and George is kind of like her foil? You know what I mean? Like, to get the heat off of her. But I really don't think that's it. That's kind of like an out of the box theory. My theory is more, my feeling is more the first one, that's not a good marriage. He obviously does not respect her. Rihanna, what would you do if Dilly dissed your livelihood like that?
I finished restarting indictments. I was going to talk about indictments. But
oh my God!
Question.
Tell us what you would hypothetically do to Dilly, and then we'll let you wrap up with indictment.
No. I don't even want to go back to it. It's a bing. I'm back online.
Close reopen.
Oh my goodness. But no, it's interesting actually, because he and I were just having this conversation the other day, because we see so many people that we interact with online every day that say, oh, I'm trying to get my wife or my husband to see it this way, or my wife or my husband's a liberal and we just don't agree. I'm trying to get them to understand. She can't believe I voted for Trump, and we were thinking, how do you stay in a marriage where your values are diametrically, drastically opposed? Like, you are completely different people on every level, and you believe something completely different from top to bottom. How do you raise kids together? How do you even have anything to talk about? How do you go on a date? How do you live with each other without killing each other? I mean, you have to have some kind of common ground, right? Like, Brendan and I are best friends, and we have a lot of the same hobbies, and we share the same values, and we agree on how we're raising the kids. I don't know how you could do it. I don't know how you do the job she's doing, which is already difficult enough, without your husband publicly slandering and undermining you. That's first of all, really humiliating, especially for a woman that people perceive to be so powerful and intelligent and in such a strong position. And it makes everybody, uncomfortable and question her, which a lot of people kind of did to begin with, because there is footage of her out there being critical of President Trump before he was president. So it makes them start to ask, okay, is she just a very savage, very smart and savvy political survivor, or is she actually on the president's team? And when you start asking those questions, there's a problem. So something's got to give. And I think that you might have a really good theory there, Tracy, with maybe something's already in the works.
Oh,
no, not the foil.
Not the foil.
That's an interesting theory too.
Yeah, but out there.
Well, because Eric Trump came out almost in defense of her and calling him out, it makes me think that maybe you're right that something's falling apart already, and that's why he's starting to come out publicly and openly so he can write that book later and kind of get himself in the spotlight before they sign on the dotted line to end things. Or maybe you're right. Maybe there is going to be, like Ann said, a change of the guard, because we do see that a lot in this administration. Yeah. That's actually the way Trump runs his private and endeavors as well, is there's a lot of rotation. There's a lot of change in the guard, so to speak.
Yes.
You know, it's really hard for people to keep up with the pace, but it also keeps people from getting complacent. And so it keeps them more effective in their job when you do those rotations. So we may see that as well. Maybe it's leading up to that. But I don't know. Every day it's making her look bad. It's making her look weak and questionable. Yeah, so something's got to give.
You know, with George Conway putting this out there like he is so publicly in the media picking up on it, it's sort of like when Comey took the dossier, the PP dossier to Trump, and it gave CNN the news hook where they could run that story. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of giving validity if he does write a book, even if it's just salacious nonsense.
Or when Steve Bannon self-immolated, you remember that? And just lit himself on fire to sell a book?
I just think Steve Bannon was out with coworkers and he got drunk and he was just griping about everybody and everything. Like, you know, like when you want to vent it out, like you don't even mean half the things you say. But yeah. I think he was half in the bag and just kind of let it rip. So.
One of the things, though, that I think that, you know, we need to keep in mind about the president, he's very much a loyalist. He's very loyal to those that are loyal to him. So it'll be, you know, while people may come and go from the White House, I mean, Hope Hicks, he's still very loyal to Hope Hicks. He still really cares about her. And there's a lot of people around him that if they were supportive of him and were good to him, he's the same back, whether they stay or not, because it's a burnout job. I mean, It's a real burnout job in there. And while he seems to have an atomic energy, you know, inside of him that just keeps him going and going and going. It's just unlimited amount of energy. People around him take a lot of slings and arrows to the face for him to help advance what he's trying to get done. And having to constantly negotiate with enemies all around you, I can only imagine. So if Kellyanne decides she wants to leave, I'm sure he will be very supportive of her. And I bet that he will keep her around in some other capacity doing something else, maybe not right in the administration, but out in the outlier. And I would also think that he's already talking to people. And it wouldn't surprise me. There's somebody I'm thinking of that I think would make a fabulous replacement as a trusted advisor. I know her, and I think the world of her. And she's got, you know, multiple master's degrees. She's very intelligent and
Tracy?
very well respected.
I was going to say,
by the president. Yes, Diva, it's you. But I mean, I think she would be a fantastic replacement for Kellyanne Conway. If Kellyanne's is like, I need a break because I've got to go home and divorce this jerk. Yeah. So, and I want to do that out of the public eye. And when I'm done with that, then I can come back and we can rotate again or whatever.
It's a shame because, you know, she has done such a wonderful, tremendous, amazing job for him. And for him to just like, you know, pee-pee all over it, you know, it's just, oh, man.
It's really overshadowing a lot of her strengths and accomplishments, which is really a shame.
It's a shame. Yeah, you're 100% right. So, you know, the time has come. I know we all would give George Conway a big thumbs down, but the time has come for our thumbs up and our thumbs down of the week. So I'm going to start us off here, and then I'll pass it over to you ladies. My thumbs up goes to Sully and just all dogs everywhere because people do not deserve dogs. We really don't. They're much too good for us. And you know, Sully was Bush 41's therapy dog. Yeah, the beautiful picture of that dog mourning his master. Like, he didn't see Democrat, he didn't see Republican, he didn't see, you know, the father of American globalism like some of us see. He just saw the person that he loved, and it was a very beautiful picture. And just dogs are too good for us. So my thumbs up is to you, and my thumbs down is to Slate staff writer Ruth Graham for dissing Sully. Like, honestly, this is an issue everyone can get behind. The beautiful dog mourning his master. Oh, she's
Slate.
Yeah, she's a doggone idiot. See what I did there? So she actually attacked the dog. her piece criticized the nation for making too much out of that photo, saying, oh, dogs like to lay down. The dog's not really grieving. Well, dogs have emotions. We've proven that on PET scans. I mean, and that's no pun intended. That's the actual name of the scan. And dogs do have emotions, and they do love, and they do have that capability, and they do release dopamine when they see us, and they think that we're coming home. So, yeah, that dog misses his master. So, poo-poo. You're a big doggone idiot.
Ah!
I did it again. Yes, I did it again. So, Rihanna, what's your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week?
My thumbs up goes to the gal in Georgia, I believe it was, who shot a guy who he was an escaped prisoner who kicked in her door. And she was just a shining example of Second Amendment rights and exercising your self-defense and home defense. And she stopped something that could have been a very terrible, very different story. And I say this all the time, guns rights are women's rights, and this is a perfect example of why. And the sheriff said that she just did it perfectly. So thumbs up to her. I wish I could remember her name, but I did tweet out the article. It's on my Twitter. But she's great. Thumbs up to her. Thumbs down is for, we were talking about the culture war. There is a new phrase called blackfishing. You may have heard of catfishing. And what is happening right now is they are going after influencers on social media who they perceive to be presenting themselves as Black women who are not actually Black, they're of European descent, and saying that they're trying to appear or act Black to get followers and views and to monetize. Now, the problem is these girls that they are attacking are saying, this is the way I look. This is the way I appear. I've never said that I'm Black. I've never pretended to be Black. None of my posts emulate or talk about Black culture. I have tan skin. I have full lips that are not injections. I have very curly hair. This is my appearance. So it's almost like reverse racism, because these poor girls, they look a certain way and they're being attacked based on their appearance because race is being attached to it, and that was never their intention to begin with. So while I do want to be sensitive to other cultures, we need to be careful not to take that too far the other direction.
Oh, very interesting. I never heard that. I learned something today. And what about
new? It just came out today.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never heard that before. That is so that really is fascinating to me. I have to look more into that topic. I'm going to do a Google search. So, because it's
do like a DuckDuckGo search.
Yeah,
DuckDuckGo search.
I'm not promoting Google, but
DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo. Okay, I'm doing a DuckDuckGo. Don't yell at me. Don't stop it with the Periscope comments. Stop it. All right, Anne, what's your thumbs up? Who you give a thumbs up to? Who you give a thumbs up?
So my thumbs up actually are two, and it's actually to both of you ladies and your partners. Diva, you and Mike did a show on Sunday. I watched it. I was out walking with my husband. It was fantastic on the border.
Thank you.
You guys are great together.
So many statistics and facts that I didn't know, and I've spent a lot of time covering the border, but you really went deep. You're always so good at going deep. So I really wanted to give you and Mike a shout out. That show was freaking awesome. If anybody didn't see it, they need to go and watch it. Is it on your website?
Yes, politidiva.com, Patriots Nation. Go on that page.
You will learn a lot about immigration and the border, what's going on. Fantastic. And then I wanted to give a shout out to, a thumbs up also to Rihanna and Dilly, because they have done such an amazing job supporting General Michael Flynn and donating to the Defense Fund with the paintings that Rihanna's doing. I mean, just such awesome work. So those are my thumbs up. For but it's true. I mean, we gotta lift each other up. You girls and their spouses and your partners at work and stuff doing a great job. Thumbs down to a church in Dedham, Massachusetts called St. Susanna's Parish. And I don't know if you caught this, but they had a controversial nativity scene wherein they put baby Jesus in a cage, okay? And this is in defiance of immigration and the border and what's going on. So they think that this is what is appropriate right now. This is their politicizing of Christmas. They're putting
I'm telling you, MK Ultra sent out the message to ruin Christmas this year.
You know what, Rihanna? I think you're right. MK Ultra did send the message out, and it went to St. Susanna's Parish in Dedham, Massachusetts. But the last year, the church turned its nativity scene into another cry out for gun control. So this is obviously a very heavily political parish, and they like to politicize Jesus every Christmas they can. So last year it's gun control, this year it's immigration, and I don't know what next year is going to be. Maybe it's going to be Hillary self-emulating. I have no idea, but
oh my goodness. Ladies, you guys were fantastic. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Rihanna, where can people find you on social media?
I am at _Hublette, and my new art website is dillyfineart.bigcartel.com.
Excellent. Excellent. You got to check it out. Like, her art is legit impressive. Impressive.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yes, very impressive stuff. And Anne, Miss Steel Truth, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at Ann Vandersteel on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, but also check out my website, steeltruth.com. I have this young blogger, Corey Lynn. She's fantastic. She's providing me with blogs, and she's doing her own interviews as well. And of course, all my Steel Truth shows are up there, so check it out. And if you're interested in submitting some tips or stories, I've got people starting to do that too, and I'm really getting some cool stuff coming in that we're able to bring the audience. I'm very excited about it.
Neat.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, you got to check out Steel Truth. That is the bomb diggity. I don't miss it. I don't miss it. I get all of my intel now from Anne and Steel Truth. Honestly, because she gets to the people that are BFF with President Trump. So, she's getting the real story. She's getting the real deal. And you can find me at Real Politidiva. Also, definitely follow James R., who produces for us at Real Person Politics. Without James, we would have
love James.
We love you, James.
Love James R. James is mwah.
Yes,
brother.
And
brother James.
Drop a dime in that, Patreon over there he's got going. And you can find my website, politidiva.com. Definitely accepting sponsors, advertisers, hit us up and we'll make a deal. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Good night.